Okay, welcome everybody. If you are watching this, I'm so excited to chat with Sarah today. I'm Fiona Clark, the Zenergizer, and I'm always fascinated to hear people's stories about how they're getting on with the Lifewave patches, what made them start, and what has happened since they've been using them. Now, Sarah, I know you've got lots to talk about. So, first of all, what I would love to do is say thank you for joining me anyway, because I love to find out people's stories. But tell me, why did you start using the patches? What was that first step that you took?
Well, the first step was actually a friend of mine from years ago mentioned them to me back in October a couple of years ago, and I just dismissed it because it sounded like multi-level marketing. So I just said, no, I'm not interested at all. And that was Deborah Mendez. So I just literally said no. I'm not interested. Anyway, 6 months later, I happened to be talking to a Facebook friend over in Australia who I'd never met. And she started talking about it and said, stem cells, light. And I said, I'm interested. And at that point, and then she said, okay, well, I'll send you some patches for you to try. And she was lovely. So I thought, okay. And she was also excited about sort of, having a UK team as well, which she was developing. So, so then I happened to just be in conversation with Deborah, and I said, have you heard about this stem cell stuff? And she said, sounds like Lifewave. And I said, well, I don't know what it's called, but I'm interested in stem cells and light. I'm a holistic therapist, have been for the last 30 years. I only know about integrated therapies, but I know quite a lot about that. So I have, a good long history in looking after bodies and people and clients, and I've treated thousands over the years. So I know my body, and I know, I know all the holistic side of things. Well, not all of it, but I'm very good with that. And I'm a great researcher too. And I thought, oh well, this is very interesting. And Deborah said, well, actually, I'm making it my main focus. So I started talking to Deborah, and then signed up because I thought, you know what, I can't wait for the stuff to come from Australia. I was so excited about this, about the fact that stem cells, light, no injections, reverse aging, skin, renewal of every cell of the body. Well, I was diagnosed with autoimmune conditions since I was vaccinated as a baby.
Wow.
And I'm now 63, 62, 63, I lose count. But anyway, all of these years, I've dealt with many autoimmune disorders and situations, ranging from hypothyroidism to rheumatoid arthritis to alopecia, to all sorts of different things, and all to do with the vaccinations when I was given as a child. So, in my belief, anyway. So that was the beginning. So for the last 60 years, and then someone said, well, you have to patch for a month of every decade that you've been in the body. So I thought, okay, well, I'm committing to 6 months then, because I'm over 60. So I just thought, right, okay. So I started patching in April this year, 2024.
April 2024, yeah.
Yeah. And then 6 months would have taken me around about September, October time.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, well, I'll give it that and we'll see how it goes. Then I'll reassess, because I haven't got money to burn. And I just wanted to know how much and where do I get them from. So anyway, I started. And one of the things that I had going on was I had somehow, out of the blue, 2 years ago, I had a big ganglion on my hand. Now I have got some lumps and bumps because I'm still dealing with the rheumatoid issues around some of the joints, but that's okay, because obviously this condition's been there for a long time, and it's not actually okay. It can go, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Time.
Yeah.
Yeah. and realizing, of course, that I'm an onion and I've got many layers of emotion that are going to be trapped within all of these layers that I've been dealing with for the last 60 years. So, and I know that my body knows best. Anyway, I had a big ganglion appear on my hand here, and it was there for about a year and a half. And I saw Dr. Sam White, who's quite well known now in his field, and he was he was working with one of the groups that I wasn't say he's a friend, but I know him. He lives just down the road, and he saw me and said, "That's a ganglion, Sarah. You'll need it surgically removed." So I said, "Well, I'm not going into surgery, over this." Because of everything that was going on, the silliness and the craziness over the last 4 years, I'm not going to hospital. He said, "Well, can you cope with it?" I said, "Well, yeah." It was getting a little bit in the way, if I'm honest, Fiona, because it was sort of in the way of the mouse hand,
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
and also people stared because it was ugly.
yeah.
Anyway, within 24 hours of me putting on an X39 and an Eon, it halved. And it was not what I had
24 hours.
expected. I was expecting other things to go first. I was
Yeah.
hoping that other things would go first. This ganglion was at the back of my mind, and within 48 hours, it had gone, flattened completely.
That's
So
incredible.
then, I showed Dr. Sam, and he said, I said, "Have you ever seen anything like that happen before?" And he said, "Never."
Wow.
So, from there, I thought, well, if this is happening, then there must be something happening. So I'll continue with this. Now I've got my own aims and things about what I would like to, I've got a lump on my foot, I've got some stiff joints still, I've still got a stiff neck, things like that. And that's after all this time of patching. But the thing is, my hair is growing in thicker. And as we were saying just now before we press record, it's growing like a bush. I can't keep up. I've got new hair. My hairdresser is just going, "Where is this all coming from?" I've got with thyroid issues, which I don't take thyroxine. I don't take any medication. But I did take thyroxine for 23 years, and I came off it with the aid of nutrition and my creams because I channel a range of aromatherapy creams, being an aromatherapist. So I put those in my chakra balancing soul harmony creams. So I just used those in my gut and got rid of the thyroxine, very carefully and not stupidly. I didn't just give it up. I was obviously sensible with that, with my nutrition, because the gut is obviously, as we know, a very important
Absolutely.
part of the immune system and the biome, etc. So eating clean foods, detoxing, drinking good structured water, all of those things, having Celtic sea salt, all of the things that we know that we need to do.
Absolutely.
And yeah, the Celtic salt. And then I realised that there were other things going on, like I had a varicose vein on the back of my calf, and I noticed it had gone. And again, I had not, this was not on my particularly sort of the top of my list of wanting to get things done, but it was happening. So clearly something was happening for him. I had no idea. It wasn't in my control. It still isn't in my control, but it is in my soul's control. And my body seems to know what to do best. On the other, I'm
And I
just
think, no,
sorry,
go on.
and
The other thing you were going to say.
I'm seeing people get better and better. I was doing a talk the other week, and I had an old lady come in. She was on crutches, doubled over, lordosis, she was very doubled over, in a lot of pain. I slapped an X39 on her, and she stood up, wiggled, and said, now we were chatting, and she said, "Do you know what? I'm not in any pain." And she put her sticks into one hand and walked out of there fairly straight. And, again, this is just one of many things that I've seen with my very limited, I should say, experience.
So the other thing you were just saying to me, Sarah, and I just want to get back to this because you said about your eyebrows. You plucked your eyebrows, wasn't it, for the first time in how many years?
10 years, about 10 years at
10
least,
years.
if
I
not
mean,
longer.
that's just, wow. So it just goes to show, and I think what we have to understand with you using these patches is that it literally is working from the inside out. And we can't dictate what we want to work on. The body will work on what it needs to work on first, and then sort of ooze out into all those other little things that we might see on the outside. But to actually, to let go of that ganglion in that amount of time is
I
just
know,
phenomenal.
I
So
know.
so you were using, just to clarify that, you were using the X39 and the Eon at that time
Yes,
to
that
get
was
rid of
all.
those, and that's when the varicose veins went as well?
Yes, I believe it was because I only started experimenting further.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to give it some time because, if you start too many things at once, you don't know what's
You don't know
working.
what's working. Absolutely.
So I
Yeah.
like to do
Yeah.
things slowly. So I introduced a carnosine because obviously we know that, if you're over 60, then a carnosine a day is not a bad route.
Mm.
Um, for anyone who's been diagnosed with anything, lumps or bumps, it's not a bad route to
Yeah.
have a carnosine every day. But then I wanted to continue with my detoxing of the heavy metals. A glutathione is brilliant, you
Yeah.
know. And anyone with any constipation issues, I highly recommend one glutathione and staying in the bathroom, because it's all about cleansing the gut. And when I've done gut cleanses and liver cleanses and things in the past,
Mm.
um, without being graphic, there is some residue in the loo when you've
Yes.
had a bowel movement. And sometimes it can take a couple of flushes, sort of little bits of grit and, sort of metally looking stuff that sort of sink to the bottom of the bowl, um, even though all the waste is gone. So I noticed that the first time I did glutathione, I got the same thing. Um,
Yeah.
and that was a real detoxifier, a real cleanser. So then I started to look at other patches. But the things that I would always recommend people started with before going for any of the small patches would be, let's see what happens with the X39 and the Eon to begin
Yeah.
with,
Yeah.
and then take it from there because
Yeah.
each person's an individual, right?
Absolutely, and everyone's got different issues. And some of the things I notice with people are as you were saying earlier, like the eyebrow issue, is that things are changing and shifting that you didn't even ask for,
Yes.
and or you didn't even think were really a problem. Because
Yeah.
we forget, don't we? So when would you? So you use the X39 at Eon. How long did you use those two on their own for before you added in anything else? Do you remember?
About 2 weeks.
Oh, only about 2 weeks. Oh my God, I thought you were going to say about 3 months or so. That's
No.
incredible. So then you added in the carnosine and the glutathione, which is their magical patches as well as our support and YH, part of the YH system. So amazing. So if you could say to somebody, who might have some issue, and let's face it, this is not just for people who have got pain or they think they've got an issue in their body. We are all aging every single day. Our cells are shrinking every single day. So this is actually just stimulating that base cell, the base core of the cell, to regenerate itself and to actually get those stem cells saying, hello, let's get you back to work. So I don't want people to think that just because you've got a pain or an illness or a title of something, that is the only reason you'd use these patches, because it really is working from the inside out. And I always say to people, we don't know what's cooking inside of us until it actually comes into the visible, or we feel something, or we've had a test or whatever. We have no idea because things don't happen overnight. It's an accumulative thing. So
Did you there was one other thing I think that certainly the people that I share this with find very interesting, that you may like to also pop onto this little testimonial. My husband, he's 63, and since the age of about 14, 13, 14, so we're talking, what is that, 40 years, um, he was diagnosed with asthma. He very, very bad asthma. So he had all the Ventolins and the steroid, the red inhalers, and all of that stuff. And he would use those. And oh my God, Fiona, he used to cough every morning and every night, and it used to do my head in. But I put up with it for over a decade. So I do love him. But I started off with the pack for me, and then when he saw the ganglion go, he said, "Well, I'll try that." So I had to upgrade my pack because he suddenly started using them as well. But the point was, within a few weeks, I would say, he has now not touched any inhalers. Um, 4 months, and he stopped coughing.
And again, is he just using X39 and Eon, or is he
No,
using?
I've got him on more than that.
You've got him on
But
more than that now.
yeah, I have now. But
Wow.
initially, we only had the X39 and the Eon when I first started, because I just thought, I'm just going to test this out.
Sure.
But I think a lot of people have you know, we see people a fair amount, and people often say, if I didn't know you were now in better, I'd say you'd had work done. And you know, because you know, apparently I wear less makeup, you know, my hair is growing crazily. My husband's hair is growing crazily. I've got dark roots, whereas I ought to have grey roots at my age. They're now dark. I'm having to have my hair, you know, cut more frequently, and also because it's very thick and heavy. And also the highlights are growing out with dark roots very quickly. I mean, you know, it's great for a hairdresser because you know,
You've
the
got more.
hairdresser is getting extra business.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. So what are you working on now, Sarah? Because I know you said you've had a lot of different things with the joints, etc. What is your next sort of plan, if you like, to work with the patches?
I don't really have one. I'm not. I'm not. I'm a bit spiritual, Fiona, I have to say,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
I'll probably go against what some people in the company will say, and I'm sorry, but that's just who I am. I'm a bit spiritual. I do believe what's for you won't goodbye you.
Mm.
You know, I was introduced to these 12 months ago, or whatever it was, you know, back by Deborah. I said no, and then it sprang up and hit me again in the face from Australia. So, you know, I do believe that there is never a no. It's a no, not I'm not ready yet.
Yes.
So with my own journey with the patches, I'm letting it all unfold organically. And I know that certain people will say, you know, targets, etc., etc. But you know what? I'm not into control anymore. I've kind of stepped away from that. I go into more spiritual trust because I work very much with intuition and spiritually. And I know that's not a popular thing to say quite often, but my main ethos is for me to get better, fully better, to get rid of lumps and bumps in joints. And I've got a lump on my foot and I've got a track over my neck. I want to get all of that good. And once that's all good, um, I will be so happy with me. And I know that it can be that way because I trust. But also, I'm a therapist and I have been for years. So, you know, for, well, over 30 years. And I see people full time. And my main ethos as a Virgo, as a spiritual healer, as a whatever it is that I do. I don't even know what the title is anymore over all these years, but I like to see people get better. So my two main things are for me to get better and for my people to get better.
And I love that because actually, you know, we can be very stuck into that sort of left side of the brain and think, right, now I want this, and be very dictatorial to the body. But we know the body will do what it needs to do. And I think it's just the most important thing here is being consistent in what we do. And being consistent with the patches creates magic. We've seen this. Sometimes it's overnight, as you've experienced, and sometimes the journey takes a bit longer, which is also fine, because if you've had problems in the body for a long time, it's not going to take it and get rid of them instantly. It needs to work around what it needs to work on first of all. I love that. And I think most people, well, everybody, I hope, will be able to relate to that and resonate with that, because we can't do what the body needs to do. The body's got its own innate wisdom, and it will just heal when it's ready to heal. So I love that. So just one more question for you. If you could say to somebody who thinks, oh, this sounds too good to be true, you know, why would I need these patches? What would you say to them?
I would suggest that in my experience of this now, a very limited experience at the moment, although it's, you know, it's coming up for a year, but it's a year, isn't it? But anyway, my suggestion is that if you haven't got much going on with you, you may not notice anything initially. It may take a year, may take a year and a half, may take, I mean, look at Stacey. I saw a Dr. Stacey, I saw a video of her 8 years ago, or no, it wasn't 8 years ago, it was a while ago anyway. And she looked older than she does now. So she's looking amazing. Someone said to me she had work done. You know, I mean, I have no idea. It's not my business, but she looks amazing. And you know that if the body on the inside is getting better, then it's going to eventually trickle out into the outside. What was the
Absolutely.
question, Fiona? I've forgotten.
No, would you recommend these if people are saying, "Oh my God, maybe it's not going to work for me," sort of thing? What would you say to somebody who would say be curious about using them?
I would suggest that um, if they're curious, then it's worth a try. You know, if something is highlighted, but also look at your family. You know,
Yeah,
who around you might benefit. You know, have you got children? Are you considering staying around for a long time to be, you know, in a good, healthy way, to be good for your children? You know, are you able to get down and play with your children, your grandchildren? You know, all of these things. There's the quality of life, and the other thing is, I plan to live to the age of, like, you know, well, at least 150. I know this body is designed to get to that age, you know, at least. So,
yeah,
you know, I'm not going anywhere. I like this planet. So, you know, it's up to people, and individuals will have their own journeys. And
yeah.
if they want to try, then they will. But I don't believe in chasing people either. So I let people come to me. I just sow a seed, and if they want to try it, they know where I am.
Yeah, fantastic. And I do love that because we're all on our own personal journeys. And, you know, knowing that we've actually experienced these patches and knowing what they can do, it is quite mind blowing, actually. It really is quite mind blowing. But I really thank you for joining me today. And I'd love to say maybe do another little video in maybe a few months' time, 6 months, and see
Yeah.
where you are then. It'd be fantastic to be able to do that.
And you're looking fantastic as well, Fiona.
Oh, thank you so much.
You look gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. Well, I really appreciate you joining me today, and
And thank
we'll
you.
see you very soon. Thank you.